Alice and Olivia. It's the ultimate fashion success story that starts with someone making their own clothes. 6 years ago, Stacey Bendet came up with a funky pair of pants, and next thing she knew, owners of trendy stores were clamoring to sell them. She made $1 million in sales her first year, and according to the company, Alice and Olivia reached $30 million in sales this year.
Stacey Bendet, designer and owner of Alice and Olivia. Welcome, Stace.
Thank you.
Well, you are a poster lady tonight for No Experience Necessary. We talk a lot that, you know, having no experience sometimes is a benefit. Forget that it's an obstacle. I mean, because you don't know what you can't do, and you had no business designing a clothing line. You had no experience.
Zero.
What were you doing at the time?
Well, I was 21 years old, and I graduated from the University of Pennsylvania.
Go Quakers! We love Penn on the show. Okay.
And I had taught myself while I was at school how to build websites because I was sort of obsessed always with graphic design and flash design, and I started building these flash websites. And at the time, not that many people were building sites in Flash, and so I started building them for people in PR, fashion, and while I was building sites, I was sort of learning about the fashion industry, but I mean, I had zero experience when it came to any sort of garments. I just loved clothing, and I, at the time, you know, had the experience of being with a lot of different designers because I was building these websites for them.
Oh, so what happened? You're walking through the garment center one day. Once again, you had never designed a pant in your life, anything?
I had not designed anything. Actually, that's not true. I designed a dress for myself when I was 13 years old. If we had a picture of that right now, I'd be very embarrassed.
Okay.
So I was walking through the garment district, and I'd always tailored a lot of my clothes, and I was always, you know, obviously into fashion. And I saw this great, bright, bold, striped fabric in the window of some random store in the garment district. And I thought, God, those would be amazing pants. And I actually bought some of the fabric because I thought it could also be used as inspiration for a website I was working on. And I bought some of the fabric, and I went up to the company that I was building sites for at the time. And, you know, I turned to one of the guys there, and I was like, I want to make some pants, you know, just like my jeans, but in these funky fabrics. And he was like, oh, why don't you go to, you know, this pattern maker down the street, and, you know, maybe she can help you. So I brought her a pair of my favorite jeans, and I said, you know, can I make these in this upholstery fabric? And she said, no. And I was like, well, why? And she said, it's too thick, it's not gonna stretch, you need stretch, like, it's never gonna work. And I, like, looked at her and I was like, I'm really tiny, I don't really need the stretch. I was like, let's just try it. And that was literally how I made my first pair of pants.
Literally made these.
Yeah,
which basically look like they're curtains, but I love it.
That was the original fabric. I think that was like the second version.
So, once again, you had no experience, and nobody would think to make the genius of it. Somebody in the business of making pants would never think that, like, let's take this kind of like curtain material, which I love, and made. So you made your first pair of pants. You knew nothing. You just wanted to see what was hey, now I got a pair of pants.
Do it. I was like, just make me pants.
Okay,
and
so now you got this pair of pants. What happens?
I love them, and so I made myself like 5 more pairs of pants. And everywhere I went, people would stop me and say, where'd you get those pants? I mean, they obviously were all pretty like bold and crazy. Cool. And, you know, at the time I was young, we were going out every night, and all my friends now wanted these crazy striped pants. And I ended up going out to LA for a few days, and I was walking down Robertson, where I actually now have a store. And Lisa Klein, who is, you know, a really famous shop there, saw me getting into a taxi, because in LA, like, no one takes taxis really, but I don't drive, so I was getting in a taxi, and she came running out of her store, and she said, where'd you get those pants? I need them for my store. And I said, I made them. And she said, how do I order them? And I said, I'll make you some, you know, like, I had no idea, like, I didn't have order forms, I didn't have anything. So she literally came over to my friend's house where I was staying that week, and she wrote an order for pants in the 5 fabrics that I had made, and that was my first order.
How'd you get to 30 million?
Slowly but surely. We, you know, over the last 5 years we're now distributed in over 500 stores, and we now have, right now we have 4 of our own stores, and we're opening 2 more this year. So by 2008, we'll have 6 retail stores.
Stacey Bendet, designer and owner of Alice and Olivia.
Searching, sometimes finding.